The financial industry has a sales quota to meet, and hitting that quota requires you to believe you need $1 million to survive. If that number were true, we would see millions of retirees starving in the streets. We don't. What you see instead is something the experts don't want you to know. There's an entire invisible retirement happening right now in America. People living full, meaningful lives on about $2,500 a month. Not someday, not in theory, right now. Before we go further, I need to be clear. Nothing in this video is financial advice. This is educational content about how retirement spending actually works, based on public data and research. Your situation is unique. Your timeline is unique. Your needs are unique. Before you make any decision about retirement, you should talk to a qualified financial advisor who knows your full picture. That's not me. That's someone licensed in fiduciaries who can look at your specific circumstances. Now, with that said, today I'm going to show you the math that proves you might already have enough to retire, and more importantly, why the $1 million target was never designed for you. It was designed for someone else's profit margin. You've probably seen the headlines. Major brokerage firms, financial advisory websites, retirement calculators, they all say the same thing. You need $1.5 million or $2 million, or sometimes even more. These numbers get repeated so often that they start to feel like law, like gravity. But here's where the lie lives. When experts quote average, they're using a trick. Imagine a bar with 9 people who have $50,000 saved each. Then Jeff Bezos walks in with $150 billion. The average person in that bar is now worth $16.7 billion. Does that help the 9 people with 50 grand? No, it's mathematically meaningless. The median is different. It's the person exactly in the middle. According to the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, the median net worth for Americans aged 65 to 74 is roughly $410,000, and that includes home equity. Now here's what should blow your mind. If the experts were right, if you genuinely needed over $1 million just to survive retirement, we would see a different America than the one we actually have. We would see millions of retirees in financial crisis. Instead, what do we actually see? Golf courses filled with retirees, parks, grandchildren being spoiled, travel photos on Facebook, people enjoying their lives. They're surviving because they cracked a code the financial industry doesn't advertise. The code isn't have more money, it's need less money. And the difference between those two approaches will change everything about how you think of retirement. Let's talk about something nobody measures, yet everyone pays: the work tax. You do not need to replace 100% of your working income in retirement. This is the first lie that keeps you working 5 years longer than necessary. When you stop working, you stop paying a tax, a hidden tax that comes out of your paycheck every single week. Start with the commute. Gas, tire wear, oil changes, and for many of you, a second car that exists only to transport you to a job you don't love. The average American spends about $5,000 a year just getting to the office. That's money that vanishes the moment you retire. Next, the wardrobe tax: professional clothes, dry cleaning, uncomfortable shoes designed to impress people you'll never see again after you leave that job. Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows this isn't pocket change. It's hundreds of dollars a month for some professions. But the biggest part of the work tax is this: the convenience tax. When you're working 50 or 60 hours a week, you have no time. You buy pre-cut vegetables. You spend $15 on a sad desk salad because you're too exhausted to make lunch at home. You pay for fast everything: fast food, fast shipping, fast anything, because your time has become more valuable than your money. You're trading dollars for minutes you don't have. When you retire, you get something back that no amount of money can buy at work: time. You can cook at home. You can shop for deals. You can drive during off-peak hours, saving fuel and wear on your car. You can be inefficient, and inefficiency is the most profitable thing a retiree can afford. Now let's look at real data. Fidelity's research shows that most people only need to replace 55 to 80% of their pre-retirement income to maintain their lifestyle. Let me give you an example with actual numbers. If you're earning $75,000 a year, you're probably paying about $20,000 in work-related expenses and taxes on that income. In retirement, $55,000 will feel exactly like $75,000 felt when you were working. You get an invisible raise on the day you stop driving into an office. That's not theory. That's the Consumer Expenditure Survey, data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Household spending drops by nearly $2,000 a month when someone retires. You've already done the math. You just didn't realize it.
Here's where the calculation changes completely. As of this month, the Social Security Administration reports that the average monthly benefit is over $2,070. For a couple where both spouses worked and are both receiving benefits, that's roughly $4,100 a month. That's $49,200 a year, paid by the federal government, adjusted for inflation for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live. Now, listen to how experts talk about Social Security. They say it's a supplement. It's a backup plan. It's not the main source. This language is designed to make you feel like it's not real money, not serious money. They want you to ignore it in your calculations so you feel more afraid. But let's translate Social Security into a language Wall Street understands, a lump sum asset. If you wanted to generate $49,200 a year from a brokerage account using the standard 4% withdrawal rate, the rule that's kept retirees solvent for decades, how much money would you need in the bank? You would need $1.2 million. Let that sink in. You're not starting retirement from zero. You're starting with a $1.2 million government-backed annuity. It never runs out. It adjusts for inflation. It's backed by the full faith and credit of the federal government, which has never defaulted on Social Security benefits in over 90 years. When the next financial expert on YouTube tells you need $1.5 million to retire, remember, they're already ignoring $1.2 million of your actual assets. You're not behind, you're just looking at incomplete math. This changes everything about the gap. It changes the question from how much do I need to save to how much of a gap actually remains. And that gap is much, much smaller than anyone is telling you. Here's another assumption the financial industry needs you to believe. Your spending stays flat for 30 years. This is how they sell you the $1 million number. They take your current spending, multiply it by 30 years, adjust for 3% inflation, and tell you to save that amount. It's mathematically elegant and completely wrong. Researchers like Michael Stein have studied actual retiree spending for decades. What they found is called the spending smile, and it looks like this. From 65 to 75, what researchers call the go-go years, retirees spend the most. They travel, they do projects, they visit family. Spending during this period might be 100% of your budget, maybe even 110%. Then something changes. From 75 to 85, the slow-go years, inflation-adjusted spending drops by roughly 19%. People slow down, travel becomes less appealing, energy levels shift, interests change. After 85, the no-go years, spending is nearly 50% lower than it was at 65. At 85, your big adventure might be a new book or a family phone call. Your excitement is inexpensive because your energy is limited. It's cheap to be old and tired. You don't need a flat paycheck for 30 years. You need a strategy that acknowledges you'll likely spend less as you age. This is built into the data. It's not a guess. It's what actually happens. So now we know you've already reduced your spending by about $2,000 a month through the work tax, you already have $1.2 million in Social Security, and your spending will naturally decrease over time. But there's still a gap for most people. Here's how to bridge it. Lever 1. Housing. AARP research shows 77% of people over 50 want to stay in their homes. It's comfortable, it's familiar. But for some of you, your house is an anchor. It's a work tax wearing a roof. If you're in a high property tax state, moving to a retirement-friendly area or even downsizing and keeping the equity can fund years of retirement. Pocket $100,000 from a house sale, and you've just funded a decade at $833 a month. Housing decisions matter. They matter a lot. Lever 2, healthcare. The Kaiser Family Foundation has studied this extensively. Yes, healthcare feels expensive and scary, but once Medicare kicks in at 65, your costs become capped and predictable. The invisible retiree doesn't fear medical bills because they understand the system they're now in. They budget accordingly. It's not a wild card, it's a known variable. Lever 3, the bridge job multiplier. This is where the math becomes almost unfair in your favor. Retirement no longer means doing nothing. It means doing what you want. Some people want to travel. Some want to volunteer. Some want to work, but only at things they enjoy. Here's the math nobody talks about. If you can find something you enjoy, not a stressful 60-hour career, but a low-stress 10-hour-a-week hobby that pays, and you earn $500 a month, you've performed a mathematical miracle. To withdraw $500 a month safely from a brokerage account, you'd need $150,000 sitting there. You've just created $150,000 of financial breathing room by spending 10 hours a week doing something you might actually enjoy. It's easier to earn $500 a month than to save $150,000. Much easier. Before I finish, I need to say something serious. Working 5 extra years to hit an arbitrary million-dollar number has a cost that doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. If you're 60 years old, you have roughly 1,000 healthy weeks left before you're 80, if you're lucky and if you maintain your health. Staying in a stressful job for 5 more years burns through 20% of that time. Wealth without health is not wealth. It's a tragedy wearing a dollar sign. The invisible retirement isn't about maximum money, it's about maximum life. And the data shows you can have both with far less than you've been told you need. Let me tie this together with actual numbers for a real person. Imagine you're 62. You want to retire in 3 years at 65. You have $350,000 saved. You and your spouse will receive about $4,100 a month from Social Security. You own your home outright. On paper, this looks impossible if you believe the million-dollar rule, but let's use what we've learned. Your desired retirement spending is $4,500 a month. That's $54,000 a year. Social Security covers $4,100 a month. That's $49,200 a year. The gap is $600 a month, or $7,200 a year. Using the 4% rule, you'd need $180,000 in investments to cover that gap safely. You have $350,000. You're covered by a lot. You're not behind, you're already done. The invisible retirement is happening right now. It's not flashy. There are no private jets or second homes in these stories. There are people with $200,000 to $400,000 in savings combined with Social Security, living full lives, playing with grandchildren, traveling when they want, reading books they've always wanted to read, sleeping past 6 a.m. for the first time in 40 years. They're not millionaires, and they don't need to be. The difference between them and the person still working at 70 because they're afraid isn't luck, it's math. It's understanding what they actually need versus what they've been sold they need. It's valuing their remaining time on Earth more than they value a particular number on a statement. You're not behind, you're just looking at the wrong numbers. The right number isn't the $1 million or $2 million. Your right number is the one that lets you stop trading your time for money and start trading your time for life. That's the invisible retirement. Thanks for watching. Before you leave, YouTube recommends you watch this video next. I'll see you there.